Welcome back, panelists here. Hugh Hewitt, host on the Salem Radio Network. Michelle Sindor, White House correspondent for the PBS NewsHour. Amy Walter, national editor for the Cook Political Report. And Joshua Johnson, host of 1A on NPR. Well, let's give you the week in Trump. By day of the week and headline here, we've shortened the headline. Monday, we learned from the Senate, Russians targeted Mueller. Tuesday, a judge rejects the Michael Flynn plea deal. Wednesday, the president on Twitter announces Syria withdrawal. Thursday, his defense secretary resigns. Saturday, we officially have a government shutdown. Oh, the week that was, Amy Walter.
Just a normal week here in Washington.
I felt like, in all honesty, that this is the week that is peak Trump. Whatever you want to say. This is the peak Trump era.
That's fair. Well, and to Senator Toomey's point, is this the week when the Senate finally says, okay, we've put up with a lot of things that we don't really like, but on foreign policy, this is where we're really going to push back. We're going to push back on whoever the Secretary of Defense nominee is. We're going to push back on Syria. We have the purse strings. We have power. We don't have to be held hostage to whatever the impulsivity of the president is. And it's our opportunity to show that. And yet, I don't know. That will be, to me, that will be the turning point, Chuck. That's where we'll have hit a different phase in this relationship between the president and his party.
There was a great blind quote, Joshua Johnson, from a Trump-supporting Republican senator that talked about it's sort of like beach erosion and all of the Mattis resignation and all of this stuff, and it erodes more beach and erodes more beach and erodes more beach. And this is before the Mueller tidal wave hits. And when Mueller hits, how much beach is left?
Well, that's probably a very apt metaphor, because these last few issues that we've been discussing kind of hit what are, and the president has said this, his kind of core responsibilities. You know, Mattis, Syria, and the border wall are all matters of national security. And then you deal with what's been going on with the stock market. That has to do with personal prosperity. And those are two of the big issues that the president came into office saying that he was going to be very strong on. I feel like as we've gotten through this week, the president is getting closer to the edges of his presidential authority, where you reach the point where, and you were right to say, with a Republican House and Senate and the White House, where certain things just can't get done because you want them to get done, and you've got people moving in the administration, out of the administration. I feel like the president is finally getting to the point where he's saying, okay, I want all the people around me to get me what I want when I want it. There are certain things he's not going to be able to get the way he wants them. And at a certain point, the strictures on just being president are going to butt up against reality. Now that it's reached matters of national security and personal prosperity, this is where I start to wonder what the president's core base is thinking of what's going on right now.
Look, you basically paraphrased what Susan Glasser in the New Yorker was saying, that we're in this. You know, Hugh Hewitt, there's a great example we found in Bob Woodward's book about the way Jim Mattis worked as defense secretary. Donald Trump, full of emotion, phoned his Secretary of Defense, James Mattis, at the Pentagon on the morning of Tuesday, April 4th. Let's, expletive, kill him, the president said. Let's go in, kill them, expletive, lot of them. Yes, Mattis said. He would get right on it. He hung up the phone. We're not going to do any of that. He told a senior aide, we're going to be much more measured. This was in response to the first chemical weapons attack by Bashar al-Assad. That's the role Jim Mattis played. He's gone now, Hugh.
Well, Secretary Mattis disagreed with the president on a lot. Disagreed on the JCPOA. He wanted to stay in.
Iran deal.
Yeah. He disagreed on the Paris Accord. He wanted to stay in. The president took us out. He disagreed on a number of different things, including the Syria options. There are some, I confirmed yesterday, some senators who are not unhappy to see General Mattis go, provided that the executive branch acts like the NFL, next man up. If Carson Wentz goes down, you better have a Nick Foles. And I heard the same thing Amy heard, which is, do not send us an outlier. You'd better send us Tom Cotton or Jim Talent or Bob Kimmett, someone who's in the mainstream of national security, because this is for President Trump what the red line controversy was for President Obama. Except when President Obama erased the red line, no one resigned. There wasn't a crisis. Here there's a crisis because somebody resigned over the policy.
Red line, or like 10 times bigger than that?
I think the thing that really struck me was when Senator Toomey said, we don't report to him. if you start hearing more senators say that and start acting like they're not reporting to President Trump, but really to his base and to his voters who they share, I think that's when we start seeing President Trump saying, wait a minute, these people who are another part of body of elected officials, they're going to push back on me. I think the worst thing for the president right now is that he's sitting in Washington by himself, that his wife and his child had to be flown back from Mar-a-Lago, turned around to be told, you have to come here to be with him. And it's this idea that it's because he's sitting in Washington as everyone else is going home, understanding that he does own this shutdown. And he said that he was going to be proud to shut down the government and that he wasn't going to blame Democrats. Now, you can go back and forth on whether or not what he shut down the government for was what he said, but there's this idea that the messaging war, which is the thing that the president really loves to do, he's kind of losing on it, and the conservative media is reminding him of that.
You cave now or cave later.
Right. Well, and this was... The 2018 election was a referendum exactly on this. Do you want to fight or do you want to fix stuff? Democrats ran on, we're going to come and we're going to try to fix stuff. This impulsiveness, this way of governing is not working. And Democrats ended up winning the popular vote by what, almost 9 points, picking up 40 seats. If this is the continued strategy that the White House wants to take into 2020, their only hope is that Democrats in 2019 overreach and do a lot of infighting. And that's what he wants. He wants a fight he doesn't want to fix.
The Senate Republicans, as a bulwark, they, to me, Joshua, decide whether the president finishes his term or doesn't. Pure and simple.
Oh, for sure. I mean, well,
and that's why this Jim Mattis resignation is so harmful to his future.
The Jim Mattis resignation is a big deal. The SYRIA pullout is a big deal. Brett McGurk leaving is a big deal. You know, if the Democrats decide to go for impeachment, of course, the Senate Republicans make a big difference. I think you're right. I think had it not been for Jim Mattis and SYRIA, this would be a very different conversation, particularly the shutdown, which I don't think a lot of Americans really will feel, except for maybe this weekend, because you've got TSA agents and air traffic controllers who are furloughed, so please be nice to your TSA agent today.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You know, please be nice to the people in line today. Please, they're not getting paid today or until we pass another bill to get them paid. But, a lot of the folks who commented to me, some of our listeners are like, yeah, it's a shutdown, but this is just kind of like D.C. today.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, we're on pause on that, but that's the problem. They've made the shutdown too easy.
Maybe.
There actually is no political pain with it anymore.